Welcome to the Wealthy Practitioner Podcast. I'm Dr. Nikki.
I'm Dr. Alejandro Elias.
And I'm Dr. Gabrielle Manto. Together, we help wellness practitioners build profitable, scalable businesses without sacrificing their health, their families, or their freedom.
On this podcast, we'll talk profit, leadership, and ownership, so your business works for you, not the other way around.
This is the Wealthy Practitioner Podcast.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Wealthy Practitioner Podcast. My name is Nikki, and I am one of your podcast hosts and support coaches inside of TWP. And today, what I want to talk to you guys about is my trip to Italy, and not about the food or the vibes, but the vibes were great, but about how I posted on my Instagram story a few days before I was leaving that it was the first time ever that I was going on a trip for a whole week. So missing a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday inside of my office. So I've never actually taken a whole week off of work besides when I had Hazel. But transparently, I was only out of work for 3 weeks and I sure as heck was not working. I was still very much working as much as I could just from home, doing all of the things because let's just be real, I had nothing put in place to actually be on maternity leave and having a child to take care of. But that is another story for another day. So this trip was truly the first time that I was gone for a whole week. I did plan it during Memorial Day week, so y'all could say that I'm cheating a little bit because the office was closed Monday and Tuesday. But what I realized that did was all it really did was overload, especially Dr. Sarah Catherine on Wednesday, because a lot of people who would have come on Monday just came on Wednesday. So thank you, Dr. Sarah Catherine. I thought about that on Friday when I looked at the schedule to see how busy you guys were in my absence. But this was one of those times where I travel a ton for work, for conferences, work trips, but they're not ever vacations, right? You're constantly working, you're emailing, you're on your phone, you're doing things, especially if I'm traveling for a TWP event. Those really require me to be like, quote, on all the time. Love talking to you guys, of course, but I've got to be on, like ready to talk and ready to mingle and just be very sociable. And even though I just left the country, I saw an Instagram reel today that was like, I'd love to stay at my house unless I'm going to another country. That is 100% me. So this is where I was actually just on vacation. And a lot of people comment to me like, I can't believe that you've never been on vacation. So I have had my practice for almost 11 years. So almost 11 years. And this is the first time that I was gone for a week. And to be honest, I never really thought a lot about it. And I am really the queen of taking short trips. I went to Paris last year with my friend for Labor Day, and we left on Friday and I came back on Tuesday. So I'm the queen of quick trips and I've just literally gotten used to that. Our honeymoon was a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and we literally traveled from Alabama to Whistler, Canada. So like the west side of the country and then into Canada. So not close either. And I worked the day before I got married and I worked the Monday after. So that has just kind of been who I am. And so I never really thought that much about it. But I think that especially with social media, we are living in this weird era of owning a business where social media has convinced everyone that if you're doing business right, you should be somehow working from a beach in Mexico 3 months after you get the paperwork for your LLC. And look, if that's your story, you go, girl. You freaking go. That is awesome. But I just want to say that definitely was not mine. When I first opened my practice, and I've shared this story before about I'm an accidental entrepreneur, right? I was very content being an associate and I lost my job for different reasons. And I was put into a situation where it was either really leave the area that I live in now or open a practice. And I was getting married in a few months. And so I didn't really know what to do. And anyway, my husband convinced me to open a practice. So thank you, Jonathan, for seeing something in me that I didn't know. But anyway, that again is another story. But when I opened up my practice, I was thinking about not ever going to Italy, right? I wasn't sitting around thinking about how do I create a business that would sustain if I left for a week, 2 weeks, a month to go to Europe. What I was doing was I was trying to figure out how do I get new patients? How do I keep patients? How do I put them on monthly recurring revenue? How do I create retention systems? How do I create a team that's happy, that likes to work here? I was trying to figure out how do I pay payroll? What do I do about taxes? I was really trying to figure out how do I be a good doctor and a good business owner at the same time. And if you guys are listening to this, you are probably doing that. And as you know, those are two very different skill sets. And so when my business started to grow, all of my problems also started to grow and change, right? And so it was like you would figure one thing out and then something else would happen. And then that was just a repeating cycle. Then I had Hazel, and so she is 7.5. So my business was pretty young when I had her. Then COVID happened. Then we hired more team. Then we brought on doctors. Then I lost a longtime team member. Then I started coaching. And so there were just years where every time it felt like I solved one thing, 3 more different things showed up. And honestly, that is just what building a business sometimes looks like. And I think that is the part that is really getting lost sometimes. And so people hear 11 years and they immediately think that I must regret not taking a vacation, or you missed out on something. Or what a lot of people say is you can't go to Italy just for a week. I'm like, Brian, I actually have gone to Paris for 3 days. So what about that? And there are definitely times where I probably could have stepped away a little bit more. But number one, I love to work. And I've realized that about me, especially after taking a week off. I got home on Sunday and I was literally working. And it felt really good because I love to work. I love to build, I love to create, and I love to make sure that I'm making money. I also love to make money. And so there you have it. Not saying that you can't make money when you're gone, because I still made money when I was gone. But I just love to figure out how can we continue to make more money, even if I'm in or out of my office. So there were just years that I was building something that mattered very deeply to me. And I don't think that as business owners, we should apologize for that. So one of the things that Jonathan and I talked about a lot on our trip was just like, okay, well, first of all, this was our 10-year anniversary trip. And so just in real talk, we didn't really spare expenses. We stayed in really nice hotels. We had the trip planned for a long time. I used a ton of Amex points. I used all my Amex points to upgrade flights to stay at the St. Regis in Rome. And it was just kind of a go all out trip. And so when we're sitting there wow, we can't even really believe that this is our life. And not that things are necessarily easier. It's just very different this season. And we're able to do things that we simply were not able to do 10 or 11 years ago when I was just starting to build a business. And it really didn't have anything to do with money, because I could have saved money, gone on this trip. It had to do with what I was leaving and the team that was running things in my absence. And there was a point during the trip where I realized nobody from my office has contacted me at all. I may or may not have told them, don't bother me with bullshit when I'm gone. But either way, Dr. Sarah Catherine, I love you, and you listened. But nobody bothered me in the nicest way possible. And I was able to just truly be on vacation. And did I do some work? Yeah, I did. Okay. Just a little tiny bit. I checked emails. I went on 2 TWP meetings, but that was my choice. And honestly, I have FOMO. I don't want to freaking miss out on what do we talk about on the meeting. And so I was sitting at a beach club on my phone, listening to a meeting. And that has never happened before, where I didn't have to think about what was going on inside of my practice, especially. There was always a little part of my brain that's back at my office wondering what's going on. Did somebody show up late? Did a patient have an issue? Did somebody quit their care? Does somebody on my team need me? Is everybody getting along? Are they figuring stuff out? Is there a fire that I need to put out? And this time, there just wasn't. And I also had the realization that I trusted that everything was okay. And I didn't have to be like, hey, how are things going? What's going on? Do you guys need me? Michelle was doing what Michelle does, making sure that everything was on track as far as running the actual office. Dr. Sarah Catherine had her capacity limits tested on Wednesday. That is for dang sure. I did ask her Thursday, hey girl, saw you saw a lot of patients. How are you feeling? She said she was sore, but now she also has blown past a belief about what her capacity is for how many patients can Dr. Sarah Catherine see in one day. And Dr. Dan doing what Dr. Dan does, showing up Thursday and Friday, just slinging adjustments. And Tess, same for her. She just was making sure that new patients were taken care of. So big shout out to my team, because I never had a second of a doubt that patients were not being taken care of or that the office was functioning and everything was simply just moving along. And so we're sitting there, I'm looking at the water. It is so beautiful on the Amalfi Coast. And I just remember thinking like, this is actually what all of those years were for. And it wasn't for Italy specifically, but for that feeling. The feeling that you've built something that does not require you to carry every single piece of it anymore. I think sometimes people hear conversations about systems and leadership and culture, and they think it's like super boring business stuff. But let me tell you what, it is not. The reason that you build systems isn't because systems are exciting. And the reason you develop leaders is not because it is fun. The reason that you spend years creating processes, training people, and having difficult conversations, teaching people how to make decisions in your absence is because one day you will want to be able to leave your business for a week, 2 weeks, or maybe even more. And you want to know that everything is not just okay, but that everything is thriving, that it is still making money in your absence. And that is the payoff. And so the older that I get, the less impressed I am by my revenue milestones, and the more impressed I am with how little does my team actually need me? How little do my patients actually need me? How can I continue to focus on growing the business and know that the people inside of it that I have hired to bring on are the ones who are helping to cultivate the experience and make sure that things continue to just move in the right direction. And so that is really what I've been reflecting on ever since I've been home. And it just was realizing that while we were there, I didn't need to be anywhere else. And so I still woke up early, too, if you've been to Europe, your time is all kind of messed up. I will say though, I'm a person who can thrive on very little sleep, and I can also change time zones pretty darn easily. So I do really well at that. But it was a good feeling of just being like, hey, we don't have to be anywhere today. We don't have to do anything. We canceled dinner plans because we didn't want it to dictate our whole day. We canceled an underground trip to the Coliseum, even though it was very expensive, because it was going to take 3 hours out of our last day in Rome. And I said, I don't want to do that. And that was such a good feeling to know that we had that freedom and flexibility to change that. And so I have a ton of gratitude for my team, especially. They are literally the best team I've ever had. They are trustworthy. They are responsible. They are resourceful. And I'm just super proud of them. And I'm also grateful for my practice because it's given me this opportunity to have this life and have this ability. I am also very grateful for a second income that allowed me to go to Italy, buy myself a couple of sweet treats. I had gelato every night, maybe even a sweet treat in the form of a purse, maybe even a business class upgrade on the way home. I don't know. But I'm grateful for all of these things because all of these years of not taking true vacations, showing up, working through the different seasons, honestly, the grind and the hustle. And I think there's a lot of you guys that you're not working as hard as you can. And you are taking 2-week-long vacations. And then you're like, I don't know why I'm broke. I don't know why I'm not making any money. It's respectfully because you haven't earned it. And you haven't put in the reps and you haven't done what you need to do to build a business that is sustainable enough for you to do those things. So I'm just super grateful that for all of these years that have gone into building the life that made this trip possible. I think sometimes we just get so focused on where we're trying to go next that we forget to stop and acknowledge what we've already built. So I really invite you guys to just sit and reflect on all of your achievements, all of the things that you've done. And Italy gave me a beautiful chance to do that. And I'm forever grateful. And so now that I've got you guys thinking about a trip, why not join us in sunny San Diego for the Wealthy Practitioner Tour? It is going to be August 13th, 14th, and 15th. We will work that weekend. And you guys are going to meet some of your best friends. You guys are going to have an awesome time. We've got two very special guests. One is Amanda Francis from The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. And we are still waiting to announce our second male speaker. So as soon as we get the green light on him, we will go ahead and announce that. We've announced it to our community inside of TWP, but not outwardly facing just quite yet. And we are getting very close to being able to do that. If you guys want to join us in San Diego, I will put the link in the show notes. And again, guys, just remember, be so proud and grateful for the practice and the life that you guys are building. And it was also a great reminder to me too of, I really love to work. I love to work. And on Monday, when I was going back into work, it was the most excited that I had been to, number one, see my team, number two, see my patients, and number three, get back to work. So I was very excited to actually go back to work. And it was just a good reminder of all the good that's happened over the past almost 11 years. All right, guys, thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of the Wealthy Practitioner Podcast. We will actually, all the coaches will be in person when you guys are listening to this next week. And so we'll probably record something together, I would think. I just thought of that. But I will see you guys next week. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Wealthy Practitioner Podcast. If you want to connect with other practitioners just like you, be sure to join our Facebook group at The Wealthy Practitioner and be sure to follow us on Instagram. See you next week.